Hi everyone, and welcome to the show. Today's guest is Tony Aued. This will be his second time appearing on the show. He has written several wonderful books, and I'm excited to have him on the show to talk about the new book that he has written. The name of the book is Motor City Justice. I just love the cover. It has the spirit of Detroit on the cover, so I love that. Welcome to the show, Mr. Aued.
Thank you, Patrice. It's nice to be here.
How have you been?
I've been great. We've been traveling, doing book shows, Florida and Georgia and Mississippi, doing some tours. I've been doing library events, and really looking forward to the new book that's coming out. It will be available next week on Amazon, and that's pretty exciting. It's the third book in the local Metro Murder series.
Great. So do you have any of your books out now at any of the public libraries?
Yeah, the Clinton Macomb Library has all 7 of my novels, as well as here in Shelby they have all 7 novels. Well, they'll be getting the Motor City Justice book within the week. That'll be available here, as well as in Fraser, as well as Canton Library has the books. The main library off of Van Dyke and Warren has all the books available. Okay. So, and it's also available at bookstores, Amazon, and things of that nature.
Great. I love the bookmark. It has all 7 of your FBI thriller series available on here. This is really beautiful.
Yeah, that was done by Carl Vigilio, who is a graphic designer. And Carl has actually created all my covers. And he's one of the Shelby writers, a graphic designer, and he really does a great job. The covers just jump off the shelf. He does a wonderful job, works hard at it, and Carl is also a writer himself. He writes children's books. He's got a real neat series of children's books.
Now, the last time you were here, Mr. Aued, you did mention that you were a part of the Shelby's Writers Group. Are you still part of that group?
Yes, it's a very eclectic group because we have children's authors, we have sci-fi authors, we have poets, we have mystery writers, we have FBI thriller writers like myself. We have a young man who is working on a TV show. We also have people that are writing their memoirs. We have got an author who is 90 years old, and he has got 2 published books, and his name is Bud Mann, and it's his life, his family fictionalized, and his family's from Belding, Michigan, which is on the west side of the state, near Grand Rapids, and his book has a lot of history in it, a lot of actual events that happened, how a small town got built up in Michigan during the lumber wars, during a lot of events like that. And it is so nice to be part of a group like that. And we also have people that come in, we have students that come in, they say, well, my teacher said they read about this group, and can I sit in the group and, yeah, do you have something you want to read to us? And we'll help critique it. And the group is really good critiquing. The back cover of Motor City Justice, I wrote it 28 times.
You're talking about the Shelby?
The Shelby Writers Group.
Oh, yes, they're really
wrote that
great with
back
critiquing.
cover 28 times, and every week I brought the new writing. They said, oh, you left out this part. I said, I can't tell the whole story on the back cover, but they just said, tantalize your reader with this or that little aspect. So I start off by leading with the new lead character, Amy Harper, who's a Detroit detective, is the new lead character in this book. And you soon find out why, after chapter 1, she becomes the lead character, because something dramatic happens in chapter 1. I've been told by 2 or 3 editors, wow, I was so glued to chapter 1, I was like, holy mackerel, how could all that happen? But it's really cool. I use Detroit as a backdrop. I use actual streets. I use actual buildings. I mean, you'll see the American Coney Island. You'll see Wayne State. You'll see different landmarks in Detroit. talks about Jefferson, talks about all kinds of different areas. All three books do that are local based. And the nice thing is, I had a lady call me on Murder in Greektown, and she was almost hollering on the phone. She said, I got your phone number off the internet. I hope it's okay I called. I said, yeah, sure, it's fine. She said, I lived in Indian Village. The story takes place in Indian Village on my street, 3 houses from my address.
That's exciting.
I said, well, I'm glad. She says, this is so cool. She says, I'm telling all my friends about it. So, and that I ended up doing a book club, and she works at General Motors. And I'd peg her for 30 to 40. And she said, we have 25 people in our book club. She said, so we've all read the book. So I went, I talked to them. Well, they had more like 35 people there that night. And they had a full appetizer ensemble. They had wine, of course. Book clubs have wine. But we really had a good time. And I was in the middle of doing Motor City Justice. So I read them some of Amy Harper's character. And they said, wait a minute. You've got to do this for us. And they actually made a suggestion, and I don't usually do love stories, but they made a suggestion that I had to interweave a love story between Amy Harper, a detective, and another detective that comes back into Amy's life from her academy days that she really did not like. And because she felt he was a womanizer and all he wanted to do was date people and date everybody. But and these
Date
ladies,
everybody.
well, these ladies said
He was really busy, wasn't he?
These
He wanted to
ladies
date
said,
everybody.
we all know a guy like that asks everybody out. And so then all
Did
of a sudden,
this dude have a hobby?
well, so here it is 10 years later, and Amy runs into him because he's a detective. And her first thought when she sees him is, oh, Tom Baker. And, you know, try not to pull out your gun and kill him right here, because she hated Tom Baker. But I did a little bit of a scene at
She hated Tom Baker.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite characters in the book.
because of the way I drew them together. Here they are, if you remember, at the Eastern Market. They're undercover. And Amy's not happy she's undercover with Tom Baker. And they're walking along, and Amy looks at Tom Baker. She says, don't turn around. There's 2 guys been following us. I think we've been spotted. And Tom Baker puts his arms around Amy and lays a big kiss on her. And her arms just go limp because she doesn't know what to do. Lays a big kiss on her. And then he whispers in her ear, he said, I think this should seal the deal. And he leans back away, and as he's leaning back away, a lady watching turns to her husband and says, why don't you ever kiss me like that? And the husband, an older guy like me, says, hey, if you look like her, I would. Well, now they're both really laughing, and the lady says, what's your name, honey? And so Amy's undercover, but now all of a sudden she's got a better undercover story for herself, because now they're talking to this older couple, and the lady says, where'd you get that pretty necklace? And Baker jumps in right away, says, you know, we bought that in the Bahamas on our honeymoon and all that. And he was just so sweet. And Amy's mind is going, this is not the same guy. So as the story progresses, their relationship progresses. So, and I don't normally do that. In my first series, my FBI thriller series, I think it's book 3, The Vegas Connection, where I actually have my main character, Blair Adams, and I do a lot of female main characters because I really like female main characters. They have so much depth, so much to offer. There's so many different things you can do with a female main character. A male detective is usually a drunk, usually a womanizer, usually, you know, all the stories that you've read from John Grisham or James Patterson and all. The male character is a stereotype.
Absolutely. Now, do you have any unique writing habits?
I write every day.
Okay.
Whether or not I have an idea to continue with my story, I write every day. I religiously write from 7 in the morning to at least 10. And I get up in the morning fairly early, and I'm just an old guy, so we tend to get up early. I walk the dog, my dog Baxter, and we walk a couple blocks. And I always have 2 or 3 neighbors wave, and a couple of neighbors say, "What are you working on? You got a new book yet?" And I always enjoy that. And I said, "Well, I'm still working on something, but I might put you in it. But you might die." And they laugh. "No, maybe I don't want to be in the book." So then I get home, I make a cup of coffee, I get my wife her breakfast, I set it aside for her, and I start writing. And if I can't think of anything to add to my story, I go back and re-edit and reread what I've written the day before, and then it sometimes gives me, oh, here's a jumping point, and then I'll add something. Some days I'll write a page, a new work. Some days, you know, my wife's coming in saying, "It's time for dinner. Are you still there?" Sorry about that.
Now, how has your upbringing, your environment, how has all of those things colored your writing?
I grew up in the inner city of Detroit when I didn't know it was the inner city of Detroit. I went to a small parochial school. It was fun being a kid in Detroit in the 50s and 60s. It was so much fun. You'd go out during the day, and you'd come home when the street lights came on. You had friends. You'd play baseball. No one had electronics. You actually interfaced with other people, and there were all kinds of characters. There was a character down the street from us that my dad, who just was straight-laced, but he was a practical joker. This guy had a Chrysler Imperial that was about 3 blocks long. I mean, that's how the old cars were.
Yes.
And this guy every day would tell my dad how many miles to a gallon he was getting. Well, it was like, "I'm getting 12 miles a gallon, George." And my dad would smile and all that. So my dad would say, "Okay, let's go down to the gas station." He'd get a gallon of gas, and at night we'd sneak over there. We'd put a gallon of gas in his car. So this guy's keeping track. He's going, "George, I'm getting 32 miles a gallon today." And my dad would say, "Wow, that's really great." And all that. I mean, he would just do things like that. And, you know, I kind of got that sense of humor. And then as my wife and I got married, and my wife, God love her, putting up with me. We'll be married 46 years this year.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And we've got 2 wonderful kids, and they could not be any different. My son is quiet. He's a newspaper editor, lives in Georgia, married. His wife works for the University of Georgia. They got a 2-year-old, little Iris. She is my heartthrob. She is so sweet. And my daughter is a trapeze artist in Venice Beach, California. So, I mean, you've got, you know, Butt and Jeff, just as different as you can be. My daughter's kind of like me, a little weird, very outgoing. And my first series, the FBI thriller series, my main character's name is Blair Adams. My daughter's first name is Blair. So I factioned the character after my daughter. In fact, she's on the cover of book 2, the red cover of Abduction. That's her on the cover.
She's very beautiful.
Thank you. Thank God she looks like her mom. But her friend does posters for Hollywood, for movies.
Okay.
So her friend did the cover workup and all that and sent it in to Carl Virgilio, and then he worked it out so that we could have it. And she's supposed to be a detective, so it's kind of dark. You know, you can hardly make out her face real clear. I did a book signing in California, and she was there and sat next to me. And there were a lot of young guys wanted books signed. I signed their books, but they all wanted her signature.
They wanted
too.
her signature.
Yeah, she's pretty cute.
She is. She's very beautiful.
She's traveled the world. She's been in South America. She's been in Africa. She's been in Europe. She's been in Asia. She did something for the Turkish ministry on teaching young students yoga and trapeze and all that. And Turkish ministry took them all around Turkey. She was in Istanbul for 10 days. It's just a great experience. I mean, she's just, in her 33 years of life, she's just lived such a great experienced life.
A lot of great things.
And my son he was a political reporter. I mean, he's interviewed presidents and vice presidents and secretaries of state, and very opinionated, and he writes a great column, and now he's the newspaper editor of their paper. And oftentimes when I read some of the stuff he writes, I laugh almost because he is being so sarcastic about maybe an event. Or, I mean, this year, what political reporter could ask for more fun than the politicians we have running? I mean, we have so many jokers running for president that, I mean, it's really amazing how a country could have so many brilliant people, and we're left with a handful of cast-off from a Batman movie. I mean,
I have no comment.
well, it is.
I have no comment.
It is unbelievable. But I mean, it's great fodder not only for the nighttime comedians and the talk shows, but reporters. I mean, they don't have to make anything up. They don't have to go searching for a soundbite.
Yeah. Getting back to your writing, do you ever encounter writer's block? And if so, what do you do?
Yes. Oh, yes. And oftentimes what I would do is if I've got in, and it happened on Motor City Justice, I was looking for a way to get my characters involved without having them be the typical dating romance type thing. So before I wrote the scene that I told you about at Greektown, at the market downtown, the Eastern Market, what I did is I started writing just a little piece about how I met my wife. Okay. And I just started writing a little memoir and all that. And I started I wrote about 6 or 8 pages and all that. And then I gave it to her afterwards. She said, well, we can really tell you're a fiction writer because you said right away, I liked you. She said, that is not true. I said, okay.
Oh, gee. What other things can inspiring writers, what kind of tips can you give them to create characters or to come up with topics? What do they want to call the book?
Well, you know, a lot of people right away want to think, okay, what am I going to title my book? And I got to write a book. You don't need a title right away. The title will actually come from your writing. Okay. But a lot of things that I do, okay, I'm stuck. I don't know what to write. I just don't know. So I'll go back. I actually have a legal pad, although I do use a laptop to do my writing. Okay. I have a legal pad, and I note down the name of a character, and I'll write some description of the character, or I'll create a new character. And I try to leave myself a spot where, as I'm writing on my laptop, I can go back and grab a character or bring another character in, or I don't want to forget a character. You know, the worst thing is you can introduce 3 characters in the early part of the book, and then they never appear again, and your reader's going, whatever happened to that detective or something? Another thing I do is, I told you that all my streets and all my businesses, and they're all actual streets and businesses. We were going for my wife's birthday. Her birthday's April 15th. Who can forget your birthday when it's on income tax day? So we're going downtown, and I love the Pegasus restaurant. So we're going to go down for dinner. We're going to have a nice evening. We drove all the way down Jefferson. We drove past Belle Isle, and I handed her a legal pad. I said, would you do me a favor? Would you write down a couple things if I tell you? She said, yeah, sure. She's like, I don't know what this has to do with my birthday, but okay. I said, we're going to turn here on St. Alban, right by Stroh River Plaza. I said, and write down the name of this little bar in the corner. Oh, yeah, Atwater Brewery, hon. And I'm spelling it for her. And all that. Now we're going to turn on River Drive, and we're driving. I says, okay, write down the name of this little park here, right next to Sheen Park and all that. And she says, am I writing the scene for your book? I said, well, kind of. You're helping me a little bit with it. And all that. She said, isn't this my birthday? I'm like, yeah, it is, you know. She says, you're not writing off my dinner, are you? I said, no, I'm not writing off
But
my
by
dinner.
being a writer, it's always in your mind.
Yeah.
About when you're seeing things, when you're different places. As for me, talk show host, I'm always trying to see what experience can I bring together to bring and turn into a show that can help someone. So it's always in the back of your mind, no matter what you're doing, if that's what you're passionate about, it's always there, and you're always trying to see what can you take from that
Exactly.
to use it.
Exactly. You know, and there's so many, the library is so phenomenal. There are so many self-help books.
That's my second home.
Yeah, I mean, well, you and I saw each other there earlier. But when you're in the library, if you ask them, they've got a whole section on how to write. And how to write a mystery, how to write a fiction, how to write a character, how to write description, how to write scenery. I've got a book that I use when I do classroom visits, and I do a lot of classroom visits. I just did a fourth grade a couple weeks ago. I sat on the floor with the fourth graders, and I talked to them, and you know, the teacher said, well, this is Mr. Aued, and he's a local writer and all that. And I gave them writing prompts. And what I did is I had the teacher put them on the board, and I had sheets for them, and I passed them all out. And one of the writing prompts was, if you could be any monster from any movie you've ever been, what monster would you be and why? And they had to write it out. Well, now there's the thought process. Not only could they say they wanted to be Shrek or some monster that they'd met, but now they've got to go back, they've got to think about it, they've got to think why and all that. It doesn't start when you're 25 or 45 or 70. It starts when you're young. I mean, our schools and our teachers are so important. My heart with teachers, I taught all the way until 3 years ago. I retired, I was 67 years old. I loved being in the classroom, but I also love traveling. I've got a kid that lives in Georgia, one that lives in California, so we stay on the road a lot. But I mean, prompts are important, and teachers are so important. I had an 8th grade student of mine call me a couple weeks ago, and he says, Mr. Aued, I have a question. In the 8th grade, I wrote a story that you really liked about me helping a little old lady in my neighborhood, and I don't remember the whole story. Can you help me? I said, Devon, I don't have it, but I remember it. So I went over it all with him. He's at the University of Michigan now, and he's taking writing classes. And he told his professor, he says, I had this great teacher in the 8th grade. Wow. You know what? I was like about this high off the ground. I was so thrilled that one kid remembered me. And I hear from a lot of them. They email me. Some of them come to book signings. I actually use a couple of my former students in Murder in Greektown, and I called their mom.
Yes, you do.
I called their mom. I said, hey, can Harrison be in the book? She was like, Harrison would want to be on every page, yes. And you know, when they came to the book signing, I was really so thrilled. Him and his twin sister both are in college and doing well, and what a great feeling that is.
It is, to know that you've helped someone.
Yes.
To know that you've helped someone in some kind of way. Speaking of characters, Tom Baker and Detective Sampson
Yes.
were my two favorite characters. In chapter 15, on page 92, you write, Tom Baker walked through the tall grass, kicking at the tires and trash that littered the open fields. Detective Sampson was on the other side of the lot, poking through the cluttered bags and cans with a long stick. Baker, I think we need to talk to those kids that reported the bodies to the guy in the liquor store. Tom stopped, looking back at Sampson, who kept searching the field. Did you ever talk to them? No. Once the uniformed officers called it in, they said that they interviewed both the kids and the liquor store owner. That's right. We got to find those kids. They may have picked up something, and we don't know how it could have helped our case.
And that takes place, we talked a little bit about scenery and all that. That takes place on the corner of Jefferson and Lenox.
I was just going to ask you, where did it take place?
By the old Lenox Hotel.
Okay.
That was on my paper route as a kid, the old Lenox Hotel. And they're doing a real nice job down Jefferson from where Grosse Pointe ends, coming into Detroit. And there's the Jefferson Preservation Society, and they put in medians now. They put in gas lights. They've got 2 or 3 little strip centers. They've got a couple nice stores. But I used that scene. There actually is a liquor store 2 blocks away, but that lot, empty lot, is still there. And I sat there drawing it out from my car. And I had a police car pull up behind me. And the officer came walking up the car and he said, "Sir, are you lost?" And I said, "No." I said, I'm writing a scene for my novel and all that. And then I quickly gave him my business card and all that. Well, he stood next to me. He said, "What's the name of the book?" And we started talking and all that. He said, "Hey, that's really cool," and all that. So I thought, he probably thought, what is this guy doing over here? Is he casing a place for a robbery? Or
What's your newest project? Is this it right
well,
here?
Motor City Justice comes out this weekend. It's available on Amazon this weekend. I did find out that the Books Connection, which is right here on Van Dyke, on the corner of Van Dyke and 24 in the little strip center.
Yes.
They do have 5 initial copies that they got from the publisher. And I went over and I signed them off for them before I came down here. And it's a great store. They have new and used books. Oh, what a great find. What a great store. But I'm working on the 4th book and the final book in this murder mystery series. So we've got Murder in Greektown, which is the first book in the series. It starts off in a school and with a detective. Greektown Conspiracy, which takes place down in Greektown, and actually the cover is the Pegasus restaurant sign. I already said one of my favorite restaurants. And then Motor City Justice, which takes place predominantly in Detroit, a little bit in Canada. And that's book 3. And then book 4 would be the 4th book in the series. And I've already written about 7 chapters of that book.
Okay.
And I'm looking at maybe doing a book centering in the Southeast. We've got a lot of the Southeastern schools, colleges in my family. I'm the University of Kentucky. My son went to University of Mississippi. My daughter went to University of Alabama. And my daughter-in-law works for University of Georgia. So we've got a lot of schools in the Southeast. So I'm going to maybe try to weave maybe something having to do with football and the Southeast Conference or something.
Now, if readers are interested in buying your books, you said that they are at the library.
The library, they're available on Amazon.
Okay.
They're also available on my website. It's very simple. Tony Aued, TonyAued.com. The nice thing about the website is you can read the cover of each book. If you click on the button that says buy the book, it automatically takes you to Amazon, where it's either available as a softcover paperback or as a Kindle version ebook. And
awesome.
4 of the 6 previous books are Amazon bestsellers, and I'm hoping that Greektown Conspiracy and Motor City Justice join that class of bestsellers. It's really kind of cool to do something you really love. I do it because I love it. I love to write. I like helping people write. I like doing school visits. I've heard people say, "Oh yeah, I only charge so much for a school visit." I don't charge anything. I don't even care if the kids buy any of my books. I don't care if the parents buy any of my books.
You just want to help.
If I can help one kid learn to write or find their own inner self, that's all I need.
That's good. That's great. Because that's what life is all about.
That's what life's about.
What life
because
is all about.
There's a lot of things you go through in life, but as you get older, you realize helping your fellow man is really pretty important.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Aued, for coming on the show.
Oh, Patrice,
I really enjoyed your book, and thank you so much for signing my book.
Well, you're welcome, and
That was so great.
I know that the publisher sent you that as a proof copy, so hopefully it looked pretty good. And
It did.
I do know they made a couple small changes in it, changed the doctor's name, and they changed the picture in the back of the book, but other than that, I think it's pretty much the same.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Aued.
Patrice, thank you so very much. I really enjoyed it.
You are so welcome. I enjoyed you as well. Remember the book, Motor City Justice. Have a great day, everybody.